Hey, you've been injured in an accident and you're wondering, now that I've hired an attorney, how long is this thing going to take? We're going to talk about it on today's Monday Morning Lawyer. Good morning, everybody. It's Jobeth Bowers, your Cecil County, your Elkton accident and injury guy. I am coming at you from my new office here. Hey, later this week, if you are around or want to be in Elkton, Friday, June 5th, 4 p.m., right here at 103 Court House Plaza, we are doing a big ribbon cutting for the entire office building. We bought this thing in December, have filled it up with tenants, including our law office. So Sports Weekly, Watchtower, bunch of other businesses are going to be here. We're going to be doing a ribbon cutting with free giveaways, all sorts of fun stuff. It's also in conjunction with Elkton's First Friday, jump into June. So come here for the ribbon cutting and then stay in town for a bunch of fun stuff. So that is this Friday, June 5th, 4 p.m. at 103 Courthouse Plaza. And then the rest of the evening, as you wish, right here in Elkton with all sorts of fun, free family-friendly activities. And I don't know exactly what's in that itinerary, but it's going to be great. First Fridays in the summer in Elkton are always fantastic. But today, since we've mentioned an event that's coming very, very soon, I'm going to answer. I'm actually not. Let's be real. I'm not going to answer this question because there isn't an answer to this question that is just straightforward. But the question that I get all the time is, how long is this going to take? We get clients in here. They've signed with us. We get to work with them. Things are moving forward. And then inevitably, at some point in time, most of our clients or people that are considering being our clients ask that big question: how long is this going to take? Why did I say that I'm not going to answer the question? Because there is not one concise fits-all answer to that question. There are a number of factors, and we're going to talk about those factors here on the podcast today that go into how long is this going to take. So I can give you those pieces, and we can go from there. So one of the key things and one of the perspective points that many of my clients will miss in looking back and saying, hey, this is taking a while, because some of these claims take a while. This is taking a while because one of the factors, and where my clients often, and rightfully so, are measuring time, starts with when the accident happened. But that's really for the purposes of answering the question of how long is this going to take, not the critical point in time that we actually need to look at, because we're dealing with an injury case. And these injuries are measured oftentimes by the medical care that you receive following the accident. What does it take to get you back to where you were physically, mentally, and otherwise to before the accident ever happened, or as close as is medically possible? Because sometimes a handful of our cases, clients have broken bones, surgery, scarring, things like that, where they may never get back to 100% of pre-accident condition. But our measuring stick often starts when the medical care ends, because now we will have a picture of what you went through and what your claim might actually be worth. These are medical bills. These are records. These are sometimes narratives from coworkers and family members, depending on what is going on in the case and how it's impacted your life. We may get some statements by some of these people. Usually that's something that we do as we're preparing for trial, but sometimes it can happen prior to a lawsuit being filed. All of these things are put together, and then they are sent to the insurance company to review, and then the insurance company makes us an offer. So in reality, that time frame of medical care isn't going to be the same for anybody. So we kind of don't count that in the math of how long is this going to take. The party for settling the case, so to speak, really starts when we've sent everything to the insurance company. So let's talk about it from that perspective, because again, we have some clients that get medical care and physical therapy for a handful of months, and then that's it. And then we have some who have to have surgeries, who have attempts at conservative physical therapy and other conservative care prior to a surgery. Some are hurt so bad that they have to get that surgery right away. But all of these things, sometimes medical care takes 2 years. The medical care sometimes takes 2 years for people to get back close to that pre-accident condition. We're usually not settling. There are very, very rare instances where we'll discuss settling a case in that time frame. And that's only if it's to get all of the available insurance money and to benefit our client financially. That's kind of a one-on-one thing that's very different for every case, but there are some situations, very rare. So we're really starting this clock when we send everything to the insurance company. Starting there, typically with most insurance companies, somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks. So a month and a half to 2 months, they will have completed their evaluation and they will reach out to my office with an offer to settle the case. From that point, I will discuss that offer with my client. We'll talk about the good, the bad, what I think would happen from years and years of experience trying these cases in the courts. What would happen if we went to trial? How close do I think that we can get through the negotiating process? And then once I have gotten on the same page with my client, then I go to work negotiating. We get a ballpark idea of what the aim is, what we're trying, and what I think I can get the case settled for. And then I go to work. So 6 to 8 weeks till we have an offer, then a conversation with the client. Then there's usually about a week to 2 weeks of back and forth negotiation with the insurance company. This is not a fast process. In fact, some might say that it's intentionally slow, but it's not. It's typically done in about 2 weeks, sometimes as much as 3, depending on, especially now we're in a summer and summer months and adjusters are on vacation. So if an adjuster's on vacation at the time that you're having this conversation, sometimes you lose a whole week. So these are all factors that are kind of out of our control. We do what we can to move these cases forward, but can't account for other people's schedules. Typically in that 2 or so week of negotiating time, we will know this is the best offer that we're getting from this insurance company without filing a lawsuit. Sometimes that's over the range. Sometimes that's under the range. Sometimes it's real close. Regardless, I have another conversation with my client. Here's where we are. This is what's happening next. Here are your choices. By that time, I can usually tell you very, very, very close. If you were to accept this offer, you're going to put that amount of money in your pocket. That's the decision that you're really making. Is it worth it for me to push forward, or should I take what's here? It gets even more complicated from there because there are some insurance companies where I might advise my client, hey, let's file this suit because as soon as we do, they're going to put more money on the case. We had a case recently where the insurance company dug their heels in on what I consider to be a very serious case, dug their heels in with a $60,000 offer, approximately. The limit of their insurance policy, and we've talked about this hundreds of times on the podcast, was $100,000, and they weren't moving. So I advised my client, let's file suit. We filed suit. Less than 2 months later, the insurance company is offering the full $100,000 limit of the policy. So sometimes that becomes the strategy, but it varies based on insurance companies. Sometimes filing suit means, hey, we're going to this point in the process before we get a better offer. There are some insurance companies, and one of the benefits to working with me, working with my office, is that for the most part, I've dealt with all of these insurance companies more than enough times to know their playbook as well as they know their playbook, which means I'm going to be able to tell you with a certain degree of accuracy, hey, we're going to file this lawsuit. 2 months later, we're going to be done. Hey, we're going to file this lawsuit and we're going to go back and forth in the litigation process for a few months. And then at a settlement conference, they're going to put real money on this case and we'll probably be able to get it done. None of that's guaranteed because sometimes these cases just need to go to trial. But again, Not all of the cases go to trial. I want to say that we've taken less than 5 verdicts to trial to a verdict. Less than 5 cases to verdict since the courts opened back up following the COVID pandemic. Not for a lack of trying, not for a lack of volume. We filed suit in many of these cases, and they just don't all go to trial. But if we are in a lawsuit situation in the circuit court, so any case that we feel and agree with our client is worth $30,000 or more, we're going to end up in the circuit court. If the case goes to trial, it is like an 18-month to 2-year track on top of all of the negotiating time that we talked about. And if the case settles, we've already discussed the time frame without filing a lawsuit. If it's a smaller case worth less than $30,000, when we file that in the district court here in Maryland, those have about a 4-month trial track. And again, that happens after the negotiations have broken down and we realize and decide that we have to go to take it to trial. So round about this whole thing, there is no direct answer. There is no one-size-fits-all answer to how long is this going to take. But if you have the right insurance company and you've treated for a handful of months, the case might settle 2 months after you're finished treating. If you're in a sticky situation where for whatever reason the insurance company wants to be difficult with you, you could be looking at 2 years after the end of your treatment if it has to go all the way to trial. But keep in mind that's super, super rare. Again, less than 5 times that my office has actually gotten a case to verdict in the past 4 or 5 years. Not for a lack of trying. As I said, they just don't all get there. So, I mean, sometimes we get these cases. A year ago, we had one that literally resolved 10 days before the trial date. So some of them go very, very close and then still don't get there. We wanted to try that one real bad, but it just, the insurance company put all the money on it and we didn't have much of a choice at that point. So that's all I got for you today. It's not an answer, but I've actually got more detailed information on a post that I'm going to put in the comments here. So if you want to read into more of the factors and get into the nitty gritty of how these things work and why they take the time that they take, check out that link below. If you need us, you know where to find us, 885-6200. We have moved down the street to that office building that I mentioned. So come out this Friday, June 5th, 4 o'clock for the ribbon cutting, and then stay around in Elkton for all of the jump into June festivities. Got a question for the podcast? info@bowerslawmd.com. In fact, I'm going to do a giveaway at the ribbon cutting. Well, the evening of the ribbon cutting. So show up so you can enter to win tickets. The Eagles are playing the Ravens in the preseason. I know it's just a preseason game, but it's Eagles-Ravens. I've got tickets to it. I'm going to give them away this Friday. So come out this Friday, get Ravens-Eagles preseason tickets. All you got to do is show up and enter to win, and it's going to be fantastic. As always, if you want back episodes of the podcast, go to the website, bowerslawmd.com, right up at the top where it says podcast, and that's where you'll find the old episodes. Oh, by the way, this is the office. That's the 103 Court House Plaza building. I can point in the right direction sometimes, maybe not. That's what it looks like. We got parking in the front, and if you see where that blue truck is, there's a parking lot right there. You're not going to park there because we're going to have that blocked off where all the festivities are. So across the street behind my building is municipal parking. You're more than welcome to park there or wherever else you would park in the town, and come on over. 4 o'clock, we'll be getting things going for the ribbon cutting, and then we'll be there for the rest of the evening doing all of the Elkton First Friday stuff. So be safe, be well out there.